I'm talking about the Buntings. The Indigo Buntings, the picture behind me, are just starting to arrive. Lots of phone calls in the last few days. So they're a fairly small group of birds that a little bit of confusing in the name department, but they're beautiful. They are absolutely gorgeous birds, and people love them. They get people's attention. I remember asking Mark Robbins years ago, the curator of birds at KU, I said, is there any difference between buntings and sparrows with the names? He said, no, really, there's not. The names are interchangeable, but when they use the name bunting with a bird, it usually is a more colorful sparrow. It's some members of those group, and the bunting names cross over 3 different groups of the sparrow-sized birds, and so that's why they're kind of hard to lump together. But what I thought I would do today is just concentrate kind of on the names and what birds we have and what birds you get excited about. Now, indigo buntings have become more common at feeders. It seems in the last 15 to 20 years they tend to visit your bird feeders. They are common nesters throughout our area, through Kansas City, really through the Midwest, to the East. They're very, very widespread. But typically they haven't been bird feeder birds, so not that many people know about them. I know, like at Martha Lafitte, when I was director there, you can step out on an early May morning and hear at least 5 or 6 males singing around the prairie area. They love those openings in the forest where there's, a tree has fallen and it's created an open space. They love that space. They love the edges of fields and prairies and things like that. And they're very, very common around the area. Once you learn their song, you tend to realize how common indigo buntings truly are. See, I got a couple of pictures here. Here's another beautiful shot of a male. These are the adult males, fully molted, just all beautiful shades of blue. Now, this is a young male, probably hatched last year. And this year he's still molting. He's got his young plumage still shining through there, but he will eventually replace all those feathers with those bright blue feathers and be gorgeous. All right, this is a female indigo bunting. They are more of a chocolatey brown color, same size and everything as the males. And then in the fall, when the babies are out, there's lots of babies around because they're so common nesters here. You'll see a lot of these even darker chocolatier brown that are typically the young birds that hatch this year. But that is a classic female. And of course, she has to sit on the nest. She has to be camouflaged. We've talked about sexual dimorphism and why they look different, and it's important for her to be camouflaged when she's sitting on the nest, because they do nest fairly close to the ground. They're vulnerable to predation if she wasn't camouflaged. So the indigo bunting, widespread, beautiful bird. Now, the other buntings that we can see in Missouri, and that was a sneak preview there. That is the Painted Bunting. Absolutely stunningly beautiful birds. And a lot of people see these birds, the pictures of these birds, and say, that's not real, is it? We don't have those in Missouri, do we? Yeah, Ruth and I had a nice, beautiful male years ago down on our breeding bird survey route near El Dorado Springs, Missouri. They landed right in the road, right in front of us. And they nest as close to Kansas City as down in the Olathe area of the Kansas City. Typically, their range map, which I will show you, you can see that they are a very southern bird in nature. This is their range map according to Cornell. And they're typically coastal birds and very southern in nature, but you see how they creep up. Their breeding range does creep up into Kansas and southern Missouri, across the southern part of Missouri, right up the state line. And so we can find them nesting here, and they're absolutely beautiful. The female is green. It's only one of the very few green birds that we have in North America. And that is a female painted bunting, and that's the male. Let's see, I think I got another male picture here. Yep, this one I think was taken in Texas years ago. But the further south you go, absolutely beautiful birds. They used to call them non-periel buntings, meaning unequaled beauty. They just a stunningly beautiful bird. And then the other one that we get to see here on occasion, it finally changed. Boy, the computer's slow today. This is a Lazuli bunting. I've heard them called Lazuli Buntings, but Lazuli Buntings. And these guys don't nest here in Missouri, but they are populations that nest up like in the Black Hills of South Dakota. And a lot of those birds, they're becoming more common sights skirting in spring migration here in the next 2 to 3 weeks, seeing them at people's bird feeders. There was a lady I know over in the Lawrence area a couple of years ago that at one time had an Indigo Bunting, a Painted Bunting, and a Lazuli Bunting at her bird feeders at the same time, which is pretty incredible. But this picture, I think this one was taken. There we go, slow. This is at Martha Lafitte Thompson Nature Sanctuary in Liberty a few years ago at a tray feeder right outside the window there, and I think it came 2 or 3 years in a row and would stop by and feed in spring migration on its way north. But their range map is, you can see they're mainly a western bird. And so the people on YouTube that are watching this from out west, and a lot of people, they confuse them, and I've seen them in postcards and flags and stuff with a Lazuli Bunting on it, and they try to sell it as a bluebird. Because yes, they are blue and they have the reddish chest, but they are not. They're members of basically the sparrow family. While they do have the red chest like a bluebird and the blue in the face, they have a white wing bar, which is really cool. And so be looking out for those. If you see one on your bird feeder, let us know, because they are pretty rare. But like I said, in the last several years, they seem to be being regularly reported here on the western fringe of Missouri as that population that nests up to the north skirt through here. So they're learning to take advantage of feeders. And then we have a couple, 3 other buntings that are not here during nesting season, but they do occur close by, and I wanted to mention those. The lark bunting, a beautiful, beautiful bird. It's a state bird of Colorado, so that tells you right away that it is a western bird. The males are stunning, and their breeding plumage, the black and white. I wish we had those here. I think there's only been like 5 records for the state of Missouri ever. So this is a stunningly beautiful bird. One of my favorite birds of all time, and I finally got to see him a few years ago, is the varied bunting. And this is a bird of Mexico that we do have in North America along the Rio Grande River and in southeast Arizona, maybe extreme southwest New Mexico. Stunning bird. I love them. They're one of my favorite birds of all time. But I wish we could get those in Missouri, but we don't have them. And then in winter, the snow bunting, which is this is a close to breeding plumage bird, where it's really white and really black, but they nest way to the north. They're an extreme far northern bird, but they do occur here. And then the last one I want to show you is a bird that we have here commonly. Now, several years ago, they changed the name of this bird. This used to be called a black-chinned bunting. It is now called a Dickcissel for its call. But there's a common nester in grasslands all around our area. I've had them at my feeder before when I lived out in the country, when it kind of wide open area. They'd come to visit the feeders in spring. But the Dickcissel is technically a bunting. It just goes by a new name now. So the buntings are wonderful, beautiful birds. They like millet seed. They like Niger and fine chips, sunflower seed. They can be attracted to several different things. So they probably have a strong enough bill to really crack open safflower as well. So you can offer up in your tray feeders, on your finch feeders, but a lot of times I see them on the ground feeding from there. So be on the lookout for them. It's the bunting season coming up for the most of them right now. So Ruth just asked about blue buntings. Blue buntings are a Mexican species that is rare in the Rio Grande Valley, basically. But that's definitely a true far southern bird that's only accidental in the valley. So, but the bulk of them, the ones we covered, that's the ones that you can maybe have a really good chance of seeing. If you get out and bird watch and you travel different parts of the country, there will be different common in different areas. So bird flu, check the link below. If you want to talk about other groups of birds, send in ideas for those. Give us a like, give us a share. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. Until then, come on, we'll talk birds.